Thank you so much to all my new subscribers and my old subscribers. I am so grateful that you're here and that you found my channel. It really means a lot to me. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't, and also leave comments. I love to read the comments below. Thanks so much. Until next. Working with William Hurt was intense. I never knew when his anger might erupt. I recognized his rage because my father came back from Vietnam with that same kind of anger. At first, I was terrified, but then realized his fury wasn't about me. Will I survive? Stay tuned. One night I'm working with William and he's huffing, puffing, and I'm wondering what is going on. And he goes, "Why are you wearing black?" "I hate black." "I'm not. This is navy blue." "Oh, they lied to you." Working with William isn't easy. His rage, it just sits right beneath the surface. And I recognize this because when my father came back from Vietnam, an alcoholic, this same rage came right with him. And my dad could be violent, he could be volatile, and I was always on guard around him, and I never knew what might set him off. And sometimes William, he storms around the apartment and he's ranting and raving about the business, the script, whatever he's dealing with. And at first I was afraid. It reminded me of my dad. But then I realized his ranting and raving has zero to do with me. I had to detach. I would sit on the couch and say to myself, "I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you." I know it's stupid, but it was the only thing I could think of. And my hot flashes would go crazy. William wasn't comfortable with being a leading man. He was angry. He felt he'd been exploited by Hollywood. He said he was a character actor trapped in a leading man's body. He hated being recognized on the street and he would yell at the person who called his name. He was upset about losing his hair. He believed people thought of him as just a broken down alcoholic. And on more than one occasion, he said, I don't want to die alone. Here's this brilliant Academy Award winning actor from wealth who speaks fluent French and has a mind like a steel trap. And sitting across from him, I feel like I'm sitting across from my disapproving Colonel father. I felt less than. I felt like nothing. I had to prove to myself that I could hold my own with this man. Once when we were working, he stopped. "Jill, if I were you, I'd be really angry." "Why?" "Because you're so talented and you've never been given your due." "William, I could spend my life being angry and upset. What purpose does that serve?" "Well, if I were you, I'd be really angry." Once I walked in the door, and the first thing he said is, "I do theater too, you know. You're not the only one around here that does theater." I'm well aware of that. Come on, he was a member of Circle Rep. He was nominated for a Tony for Best Actor in Hurly Burly. Of course he does theater. One night he said to me, "You need an associate producer credit on this project, on Too Big to Fail. You need to ask for that." "What? You're doing all this work. You deserve it. Now ask." "No." "Yes." So I wrote an email to the producer's assistant asking for an associate producer credit. The following day, William says to me, "I got in trouble today." "Why?" "Because you asked for an associate producer credit." "William, you told me to do that. I've done that." William and I discussed his struggles with preparing for his role in The Kiss of the Spider Woman. He couldn't get a handle on it. So as an exercise, he and Raul Julia switched and played each other's roles. William thought Raul was brilliant. They asked to switch parts. The director refused. Smart move. Because of William's shooting schedule, we'd meet at all kinds of crazy hours. One morning, he asked me to meet him at 6 a.m. to go over a scene that he was filming that day. The night before, he texts me and says he wasn't feeling well. I got up at 4:30 a.m. I sent him a text to make sure he was okay and we were still meeting. I didn't hear back from him. I hesitated. Finally, I got dressed and went to his place. I was 15 minutes late. He was furious. I'd never been late before. I apologized. "William, I'm sorry. I should have shown up even though I didn't hear back from you. It's my fault. I take full responsibility." I sat on the couch and opened the script. He was so frustrated. "Too late. It's too late now. Leave." I got up, walked out the door. He shouted after me, "And be sure to charge HBO for your time." Oh my God. It's my father. I felt sick all day. That night, my cell phone rings at 11:30. It's William. Jill, I'm so sorry. I felt horrible all day. You're the only person who's helping me, and I'm so grateful for you. I was always on guard around William. I called my homeopath that I'd worked with for over a decade. I said, I'm working with William Hurt. I feel like I'm dealing with my disapproving father. I need some kind of remedy to help me cope with this. My homeopath said, if you're smart, you'll marry that man. What? If you marry him, you'll heal your relationship with your father. I knew William liked, and he intimated on several occasions that he'd like our relationship to go further. He invited me to a reading of a new play at Lincoln Center. He invited me to the New York Philharmonic. I was out of town. My homeopath was like, you should have gone right back to New York and gone with him. I've already had one bad marriage. I don't need another one. I spent years in therapy and 12-step rooms healing my trauma from being raised by an angry alcoholic father. The whole thing was too dangerous for me. I did care about William. On some level, I loved him. How could you not love a man who reads you Heifetz poems and recites Shakespeare? He might have helped me with my career, but that would have come at a price I wasn't willing to pay. I'm so glad I didn't meet him when I was like 20 years younger and dumber. Shortly before the film's scheduled to wrap, I get a call from production offering me a small co-star part as Tony Shalhoub's secretary. Tony plays John Mack, the CEO of the investment bank and brokerage firm Morgan Stanley. During my wardrobe fitting, the costumers, who I know because we've done other projects together, they start grilling me. What's he like? Is he mean to you? Come on, tell us, tell us. I go, no, he's fine. He's great. Tell the truth, Jill. You're lying. You better tell the truth. Several months after the film wraps, William calls me from Paris, inviting me to attend the premiere of Too Big to Fail with a few of his close childhood friends, which is being held at MoMA. I hold my breath when my scene appears. I walk into Tony's office, well, John Mack's office. I say, Geithner's calling again. Cusses me out. I roll my eyes, walk out. My eye roll gets a huge laugh, the only laugh in the entire movie. William was brilliant as Hank Paulson. The only problem was he humanized him. I said, William, I'm so mad at you. I found myself sympathizing with the guy who bailed out the banks and now lives on a private island off the coast of South Carolina. At the after party, William's holding court and he's bragging about how much I helped him and how he couldn't have done it without me. I'm flattered. A little embarrassed. Nora Ephron walks in, tells William how much she enjoyed his performance. He introduces me to Nora and says, well, it's because of Jill. My performance is entirely because of Jill. I'm shrugging it off. I go, oh, that's so not true. False modesty. I should have said, he's right. That's true. At one point, William grabs me. He holds me tight, looks deeply into my eyes. He's sexy, charismatic, brilliant, and sober. But all I see is yellow caution tape around him like a crime scene and flashing lights. Danger, danger, danger. It's late. I excuse myself and go. I'm thrilled when William gets an Emmy nomination for his portrayal of Hank Paulson. I'm so proud. Not too long after the Emmys, William and I are riding up an escalator in Barnes & Noble. If I received the Emmy, I was going to thank you in my speech. You're very kind. I'm not kind. William now lives in Oregon, and he moved because he was humiliated by a palimony suit that was filed by a former girlfriend. She lost the case. William tells me he wants to start a theater company and wants me to be a member. Of course, I'd love that. He also informs me that he met someone at an ashram that he attends in upstate New York. One of the reasons he likes her was because she had no idea who he was. She'd never heard of him, never seen any of his films. She was also much younger. William, I'm happy for you. In March of 2013, I'm doing a reading of my play, Collateral Damage. It was a recent semifinalist at the O'Neill International Playwrights Conference. It's about the effect war has on a military family that's left to fend for themselves and then having to deal with a broken soldier returning home with the trauma of undiagnosed PTSD. William happens to be in Connecticut shooting a film, and he drives down on his one day off to read the part of the colonel. Of course, he's brilliant. Afterward, we go to Joe Allen's for dinner. If you can get a production up and running, I'd love to play the colonel. I send the play out to various theaters that are looking for scripts with the caveat about William Hurt. I don't get one nibble. After Too Big to Fail, William continues to hire me to help him prepare for several TV and film jobs. He'd bring me scripts for projects he was offered, including Broadway shows, and ask, should I do this? We discussed the pros and cons. After 3 years, he stopped spending much time in New York. One afternoon, we're working together, and he's so mad. He's storming around, and this just triggers me, and all I can see is my father. You didn't mention I got a haircut. Looks good. He goes, well, you didn't mention my haircut. Looks good. My girlfriend is jealous of you. She yelled at me because I'm always talking about you. What do you think about that? I'm not getting in the middle of that, William. It's none of my business. We stayed in touch via text, but our relationship dissolved. When he got sick, I texted him, I'm keeping you in my prayers. He texted back, that's a good place for me to be. Everyone warned me about how difficult William Hurt was. Which is true. He's difficult. But I came to understand William cares deeply about the craft of acting. This is where his soul resides. He despised the corporate takeover and commodification of art because it doesn't serve the work. It diminishes it. And that pissed him off. And he fought the system, and somehow it fueled him and his work. But you know what? I get it. I saw him and he saw me. He supported me by acknowledging my mind, my gifts, my talents. He respected me as a person and an artist, and that changed my life. I had a dream about William. I think it's the first time I ever dreamt about him. In the dream, I go to William's house in the morning because I heard a report about his death. He's living in a ranch-style house in a suburb somewhere, and I'm standing outside the house with several people I don't know. Someone comes out of the house, a man. It's not William. I realize he's not there. I call him on my phone and leave a message.